Why is everyone talking about adolescence? You open Netflix and there it is. Number 1. You scroll through social media and it's everywhere. 4 episodes, 1 mysterious case, and a gut punch that's got viewers reeling. But what's really going on beneath the surface of this miniseries? Is it just another binge-worthy thriller, or are we witnessing something deeper? Maybe even disturbing? Adolescence didn't arrive with a bang, yet it hit like a freight train. The story of a 13-year-old boy accused of murder feels like a dark mirror held up to our world, one that reflects not just the violence in young minds, but the blind spots of adults, the toxicity of the internet, and the silent suffering happening in plain sight. The reactions? Explosive. People sharing theories. Trauma. Endless questions. Even Googling in panic, is this based on a true story? This video dives into why this show became a cultural event. We'll unpack the brutal plot, its unsettling realism, and the technical genius behind its relentless tension. But most of all, we'll explore the uncomfortable questions it forces us to ask about parenting, empathy, masculinity, and what really goes on in the minds of kids growing up online. It starts like a raid on a terrorist cell. 6 a.m. Armed officers storm a quiet suburban home, but they're not there for a criminal mastermind. They're there for Jamie Miller, a 13-year-old boy still in his pajamas, accused of murder. That opening moment is a punch to the gut, not just for his family, but for us, because everything feels too real. From the very first scene, adolescence rips away any sense of comfort. How could someone so young, so seemingly innocent, do something so horrific? What went wrong? Where were the adults? This isn't just shock for the sake of drama, it's a calculated jolt meant to force us into confrontation. With ourselves, with the systems we trust, and with the terrifying idea that a child might be capable of things we don't even want to imagine. What makes it worse, what makes it unforgettable, is how normal everything looks. His family, not broken, his school, not a war zone, and yet, the violence still found a way in. That dissonance is what makes people keep talking, keep Googling, and keep watching. Because, deep down, we're all trying to figure out, how did this happen? Beneath its chilling plot, adolescence hits a nerve that runs much deeper than crime. It shines a harsh spotlight on today's youth, exposing the toxic culture festering online, a world most adults don't even know exists. Jamie isn't just a troubled teen, he's a symbol of something darker. A generation growing up inside echo chambers of hate, rejection, and silence, fueled by algorithms designed to exploit insecurities. Incel, manosphere, 80-20 rule. Words many viewers had never heard, but for teenagers, that's everyday vocabulary. It's a digital jungle where identity is shaped by likes, humiliation is public, and pain is mocked instead of addressed. That's what makes this show terrifying. It forces a generational reckoning. Adults who thought they understood the internet are suddenly Googling foreign terms. Teens who felt unseen are now watching their world unfiltered reflected back at them. And it's not pretty, but it doesn't stop there. Adolescence also asks us to examine power, vulnerability, and identity. Jamie is both victim and aggressor, driven by rejection, shame, and the illusion of masculinity, shaped by algorithms, not love. We also see the brutal consequences of miscommunication, a heart emoji misinterpreted, a comment twisted into bullying, a private moment turned viral humiliation. The show reminds us how fragile modern adolescence is and how dangerous it becomes when pain goes ignored and empathy is absent. What sets adolescence apart isn't just what it says, but how it says it. The entire miniseries is shot in long, uninterrupted takes. Single-take cinematography, no cuts, no shortcuts, just raw, continuous storytelling that pulls you into the tension and refuses to let go. This isn't just a gimmick, it's a deliberate choice, one that mirrors the emotional claustrophobia of the characters. The camera? It never flinches, never blinks. It follows every breath, every awkward silence, every unraveling moment. You don't get to look away, and neither do they. Technically, mind-blowing. Each episode is one giant scene, requiring flawless timing, choreography, and emotional precision. Some scenes, over 16 takes. The result? A visceral sense of immersion. You're not watching a story, you're living it. Transitions? Seamless. Cinematography? Stark, cold, unfiltered. No filters, no comfort, just dread. Raw, real. This style doesn't just serve the narrative, it becomes the narrative. And it's unforgettable. At the heart of adolescence is Jamie, a boy who feels painfully ordinary. He's not a villain, not a genius, he's just a kid. And that is what makes him terrifying. Because his descent into violence, Bao, isn't driven by exceptional trauma, but by the pain we all overlook. Everyday loneliness, everyday rejection, everyday silence. Jamie represents a generation lost in digital toxicity where masculinity equals dominance and vulnerability equals weakness. He's both victim and perpetrator. Then there's his father, trying to be good, trying to be present, and completely shattered by what his son has become. His pain, quiet, aching, deeply human. He shows a version of masculinity that's about care, about empathy, about fragility, not control. His heartbreak is the emotional core of the series, and it raises the question, can love survive shame? The contrast between the fragile boy, Spo, and the fragile man exposes a brutal truth. It's not about monsters. It's about missed moments. Adolescence isn't just a show, it's a mirror. A harsh one, a real one. It shows us the world our kids are living in and the one we helped create. The silence. The shame, the generational divide. What hits hardest? It's not based on a true story, but it could be, and that's why it matters. This show doesn't offer clean villains, it gives us messy people, making messy decisions in a messy world, just like us. And that's what makes it essential. It forces us to rethink how we parent, how we speak online, how we show up for each other. It reminds us, empathy isn't optional, it's survival. So, if this series left you disturbed, confused, or emotional, good. That means it worked. And if this video gave you something real, like it, drop a comment below, and hit subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that make us feel, think, and maybe, just maybe, change.